everybody, this is Brianna Rudder, and I want to thank you for clicking on this video because I'm going to show you how I installed my Julia hair extensions from juliahair.com. As you can see, this hair is gorgeous, and what I have in my head is 3 bundles of Brazilian curly hair extensions, and I'm going to show you exactly how I installed it by doing a middle part sew-in on my hair. So as you can see here, this is how the hair looks freshly after installing it. Now before installing my hair, I already shampooed and conditioned and air dried. So you can see the hair in this natural, real texture. As you can see, this hair is very textured and it works extremely well if you're natural. If you're also relaxed, I highly suggest that you use a curling iron that matches the actual curls itself so that your hair can blend really well. Now these are those supplies you're going to need, and a lot of these supplies are actually optional. So go ahead and screenshot the supplies that you want to do your hair. My hair extensions came in a priority mail shipping, and this is the box on how it looks. As I said, I ordered 3 bundles, and the length that I ordered is 16 inches, 18 inches, and 20 inches. In just a little bit, I'm gonna measure the hair on camera so that you can see whether or not the hair is true to length. But this is how the bundles look fresh out the package. So now to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my ponytail and I'm going to make sure to actually part out the sections that I want to braid. But first, this is how I prep my braiding hair. I just thin the hairs at the ends a little bit so that it's not a blunt sharpness at the bottom of my braid. Now I'm going to use my wide tooth comb to section out where I want my leave out to be. As you can see, I'm demonstrating with my hands exactly where the leave out will lay. And I'm only going to have a leave out at my part area. Now I'm also going to comb out my edges just a tiny bit so that I don't have any tension on my edges. But technically, I will only have leave out where my part is. So I'm just using my small tooth comb to separate my edges or my baby hairs from my hairline, so that way I don't actually braid them. So if you have fine edges like me, it's very important that you actually do this when you're doing sew-ins so that you can preserve the health of your hairline. Now I'm going to part a very thin braid, and I'm making sure not to braid those baby hairs, but I'm going to braid this section that you see right here that I just parted. Now in order to prepare your braiding hair, you're going to divide your piece of braiding hair into 2 pieces. You're going to take the smaller piece and wrap it around the bigger piece so that you can form 3 equal legs to your braiding hair so that you can actually braid your cornrow braid. This is the #1 way I prefer to prepare my braiding hair, and I also suggest you to do the same because this helps to keep the braid very strong throughout the duration of wearing your style. So between my index and my thumb is where I'm going to feed my real hair in between that middle leg, as you can see right here. Now if you don't know how to braid, I highly suggest that you go back on a couple of my videos and watch my braid tutorials so that you can see exactly how to do this. So I'm just showing you that you want to make sure that you braid very close to the top of your part. The reason why is because when you sew your very last weft around where your leave out will be, you want to make sure that it's very close to your leave out area, because then there'll be a big gap of space if you don't make sure to braid very close to the top of your sections. So now I'm going to do the same thing to both sides to show you how that looks. Remember, I'm leaving my edges out. You don't have to leave your edges out if you don't want to. It's totally up to you. But I highly suggest it if you have fine hair or if your edges tend to break off very easily. So now this is how it looks with those 2 side braids, and I'm going to show you how you want to connect it into the next cornrow. So I'm lifting up the tail end of the braid at a curve, and as I add it, I'm making sure to continue to braid on my scalp past that point. So that way the braid is a little higher than where the second braid ends. This makes it a very natural curve around my ears and also around the back of my head so that I can sew my hair extensions in a very contoured way around my hairline. Because if you actually add it at the very bottom, it will cause more bulk to be near your ears. So this is how it should look. And I did the same thing to the other side as well. Now this is how it looks when I actually go ahead and add into that 3rd braid. And as you're doing your braid pattern, if you're following my instructions, this is the way that I prefer to do my braid pattern so that my sew-ins are extremely flat. With every 3 cornrow braids, they're going to connect one into each other for 1 tail, as I'm demonstrating here. So 3 braids, 1, 2, and 3, and you're making sure to hook each one into the next. So this is something of what you should look like. Now all of my braids are braided, and I did my best to braid as close to my hairline as possible, so that way I don't have a gap of space when I actually comb my leave out down. Now I'm using some hair growth oil, and I'm just going to make sure to oil all of my visible scalp. You don't have to do this step, this is completely optional, but the reason why I'm using hair growth oil is to make my hair a little bit thicker. I'm not trying to actually have length, which this does help your hair grow longer. I'm just aiming for more thickness. So now what I'm going to do is show you how to thread a needle. And to be honest, this is probably the #1 most requested thing a lot of you ask me in my sewing tutorials. So as you can see, it's so easy to do this. You just form your knot, and then you just use your scissors to remove the thread at the top so it doesn't stick out when you're sewing your extensions. This is exactly how it should look, and I prefer to use curved weaving needles when doing my sewings. So now at this point, this is what you want to do. You want to grab one of your tails, and you want to curl it going around, and then you want to wedge it in between the space from some of your cornrows. That's how you want to actually stitch the tail ends of your cornrow braids down. Making sure to go through all 3 braids. You're then going to put the needle and wrap it around the string twice. Now after you do that, you want to make sure to gently pull it to form a knot, right exactly where you entered for your thread. So as you can see here, you just tighten that knot, so that way you can continue to sew going up your braids. When you're sewing down your braids, you want to make sure that you're wedging it in the spaces between your cornrows, so that way you can flip your braids back and forth to sewing it down very flat to your braid pattern base. So now you just tighten one last knot, and then you remove your thread. And this is the demonstration of how you want to sew down all your tails. So as you can see, this is exactly how you should look right before you begin sewing your bundles. And look at this, after I washed all 3 of my bundles, this is how much shedding I had. It was extremely minimal, which is very, very normal for great quality hair. So now I'm just unraveling one of my bundles so that you can see how it looked now that I've washed and air dried it. The texture is amazing. So now, as I said before, I'm making sure to measure it on camera so that you can see in real time the real length. I ordered a 16, an 18, and a 20-inch. So as you can see, the previous one was a 16, and this is the second one, which is an 18. Now when you get curly hair, or any hair for that matter, you're always supposed to measure it stretched out, because that's the true length of how you measure hair extensions. As you can see, my last bundle measured to 22, but I actually ordered a 20-inch. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually test to make sure that this is actually great quality hair. So I'm just using a regular store-bought hair bleach, and I'm actually going to bleach just one small section of the hair to see if it actually colors. So I just randomly picked the spot, I trimmed it off, and then I covered it in bleach. So we're gonna let that process. And now I'm also going to do a flat iron test to see how well the hair straightens with just one pass. And then I'm going to re-wet the hair to see how well it reverts back. So I did nothing special to the hair, no heat protectant, no conditioner, anything. I just straightened it, and then I wet it and let it dry. And as you can see, it looks literally the same exact way. Now this is the bleached piece. Now the one thing I noticed is that it just got a little bit more elongated, which is extremely normal when you're bleaching even your real hair on your head. It will allow your curls to stretch a little bit. This is the same length I started with, but as you can see, the actual colored piece is a little longer than the original black piece, just because of the elongation from using bleach. Now we're going to start with our first bundle, which is the 22-inch bundle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my thread to the very beginning of the weft so that I can actually attach it to my head. This makes it very easy for you to attach your bundle, the very beginning of it, without it slipping off of your braid pattern. You want to first attach the needle to the weft. Then you want to go through the braid to pull it up into exactly where you want it to be. And you're going to wrap the thread around it twice to pull through to create your knots. This is the exact same knotting technique that you're going to see throughout the entire process. You always want to wrap your thread around the needle twice and pull through. For me, it creates the most secure knots when I'm doing my sewing. And that's very important because as a beginner, you want to make sure that your sewing actually lasts and that you're following all these steps that I'm showing you. So if you've made it this far to this point, what I want you to do is leave a bunch of random emojis to let me know. So that way I can comment back some emojis as well. So now I'm just flipping my hair back around to do the flip over method. The flip over method is very important in preventing you from having to cut through your bundles multiple times. Because see, this is the deal. When you actually order bundles of hair extensions, you want to make sure that they last as long as possible, right? And in order to do that, you want to make sure that you do not trim the weft, because every time you make any cut in the weft, you're going to have a little bit of shedding where the cut is, which actually makes your hair not last as long. Now I did not have to cut the hair at all, only at the very end, and I cut off only a tiny piece that didn't quite make it. So when you flip it back around, you just continue stitching, and you're going to do this the entire time with all of your bundles. And with my techniques, and also because of this hair, you can see no tracks through my hair. As you can see, that's one bundle of hair, and now it's time to install the second bundle. The second bundle is going to be the 18-inch bundle. So all I did is I folded it back together so that way I have 2 rows instead of 1 long row. So that way I can actually sew it double tracked method. This method is extremely helpful when you want to sew a lot of bundles into your hair. Because when you're sewing longer lengths of hair, usually anywhere from 20 inches and longer, it looks a lot better when you actually double the weft as you actually sew it onto your braid pattern so that you can have that desired fullness along with the length. Now, because my lengths were all under 20 inches, I didn't necessarily need to do this, but it does make the install faster, and it makes certain areas of your hair look a little fuller. Because when doing a sewing, for it to look very natural, you want the middle area of your head to be the fullest, and you want the back and the top to be single rows, or you want it to be the thinnest area. So what I mean by that is you can actually sew single rows of hair extensions at the very nape of your neck or at the very top of your head. Or you can just space it out a little bit if you decide to sew in all of your bundles with this double row method. So like I said before, the same technique applies when actually making sure to stitch your hair extensions down to your braid pattern. The only difference that I like to do is I like to secure 2 or 3 knots at the very beginning of my weft, so that way the weft doesn't slip out, because this tends to be the area that will slip the most because it's closest to your hairline. So as you can see, that's that 2 row that I'm doing, and I'm sewing it going all the way around, and this is the remaining section for my second bundle. Now that I'm almost done, I literally have the very small area of hair to sew on both sides, and it's the remaining piece of the third bundle, which is 16 inches. So now you want to always make sure that when you're ending your section with your knots, that you're securing about 2 to 3 knots so that it does not slip out. And if you want to see more tutorials, of course, make sure to subscribe to my channel right now by clicking the subscribe button and the bell notification, so that way every time I come out with a new video, you see it. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, making sure to do the flip over method because I got 2 rows left. As you can see, all of my bundles are sewn in, and I almost sewed in exactly 3 bundles, but I had such a tiny piece of hair that didn't quite make it, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. But as you can see, this hair is so full and beautiful. This hair was absolutely perfect to wear. And as you can see, that's that last piece that I don't need. Now it's time to actually style up this hair a little bit. So I wrapped the towel around my neck so that my shirt doesn't get wet. And I'm gonna make sure to wet both sides of my hair, but I wanted to show you the difference really quick. So comment down below, do you like the wet look better or do you like the dry look better? So now for my special concoction. And ladies, the only thing I have in a spray bottle is water and some regular schmegular hair conditioner. You don't need any special products to taming down these curls and making them look defined. Now the one trick for curly hair, even for women who have natural curly hair, is to put hair gel on wet hair. The reason why is because it further defines the curls and it prevents your hair from getting frizzy throughout the day. So now that it air dried, this is how gorgeous this hair looks. So if you absolutely love curly hair, let me know in the comment section. Now that the hair has air dried, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to blend my leave out, making sure to protect my real hair by using some heat protectant so that I don't have any heat damage on my hair. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a wide tooth comb and I'm gonna gently comb through my section, and then I'm gonna define where I want my part to be. Now to further define my part, I'm going to use a rat tail comb, and I'm gonna use the skinny end of the comb to make a very neat part. Now I'm just gonna grab a little bit of heat protectant and I'm gonna rub it throughout my hair. Now you're gonna have a little bit remaining on your hands, and what you can do is you could just literally put it on your weave. I mean, it's not a big deal. So I'm just rubbing the rest through my hair so that way I can get ready to curl my hair leave out so it can blend with my weave. Now I'm further defining my part with the end of my rat tail comb. And if you want your part to not look as neat, you can just slightly zigzag it so that it kind of matches a little bit with the way your hair looks. Now what I'm going to do for this look is I actually wanted to experiment with using 2 different size curling irons. So the first curling iron that I'm using that you see here is a 3/8 inch Marcel Hot Tool curling iron. Now this curling iron actually helped me to achieve the perfect curl to match this hair extension. So if you want this exact curler, I have links to my description box below, so that way you can achieve this exact look with your leave out. So you're just going to twirl the tail end of your curl around one of your locks, and as you can see, it blends in beautifully. And I'm going to do the same thing to the next section, so I'm still using the 3/8 inch curler that you see me using right here. I'm just making sure to curl a little bit of ways from my scalp, so that way I can have a slightly different look near the back, because that little bit of lift helps me to blend it a little better over my weft. So now the same thing, I'm making sure to stretch it while it's still warm, so that it can match the actual length or the elongated look of the curl. So now I'm using the larger curler, and I'm making sure that I curl in different directions so that the hairstyle can look very natural once I finish. Now I'm using just a little bit of hair gel from my lid, and I'm going to define some of my part with the gel, and I'm also going to make sure to slick down my hairline. Now because this hair is so curly and it already goes over my face a little bit, I did not have to do this part, but I'm just showing you that just a little bit of styling to your edges helps tie in whatever look you're doing. You just want to make sure the pattern of your hair matches the look of your style. So I'm using some of the remaining gel, and I'm smoothing down my part so that way it can look a little bit more defined, and then it can have that slight wet look that I got going on with my hair, so that way it blends in extremely seamless. Now I'm taking the tiniest bit of gel and I'm rubbing it on the very ends of my hair so that it can blend in a little bit better with the weave. So as you can see, my style is complete. And this is one of my favorite curly looks that I've ever done. I usually don't do sew-ins as much, but I wanted to just switch it up from doing the regular braids that I normally do. So if you love this look and you really like the way that I did this tutorial, be sure to let me know down in the comment section so I know what more you want to see from my channel. And if you want to get this gorgeous look, girl, get you some Julia hair bundles. Links are in the description box with coupon codes because they got sales going on. So go ahead and get you a couple of bundles to pull off your gorgeous style. And if you want to see more, like I said, be sure to subscribe, thumbs up, and let me know what next you want to see. Until then, I'll catch y'all in my next video. Bye-bye.